Hello, I'm John Stamps from the BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management documentation team. Today, I'm going to give you an overview of the exciting new enhancements available to you in BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management version 4.0. New support in version 4.0 includes a new compact deployment model, a completely redesigned service blueprint designer, a new network blueprint designer for Amazon Web Services, a new software development kit, and the ability to onboard and offboard platform as a service. This version also includes significant enhancements for installation and upgrade, the Quick Start component, Amazon Web Services support, My Cloud Services Console, Virtualization Management, Network Management, and Tenant Management. Let's take a look at these new features and enhancements a little more closely. In 4.0, compact deployment in both Windows and Linux environments replaces the 3.x proof of concept deployment. You can install compact deployment with only one required computer. The compact deployment model is a subset of the complete BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management solution. In typical circumstances, you can install the compact deployment model in less than 1 day. The Service Designer has a brand new GUI. It lets you create, edit, and manage the blueprints that support your service offerings. You can drag and drop objects into Service Designer and create connections between them by dragging lines between objects. Multiple blueprint authors can collaborate on a blueprint using the Blueprint Library. It has a shared repository of blueprints that authors can check out, edit, and then check back in. Using this check-out, check-in process creates different versions of the blueprint. You can use a single blueprint for multiple service offerings. The new Network Designer lets you visually model an AWS Virtual Public Cloud. The VPC specifies a variety of components such as networks, routing rules, NAT services, firewalls, and load balancers. The Network Designer workspace lets you create, edit, and delete network blueprints. A network blueprint is a topology blueprint used to carve out logical network isolations from physical devices. You can create simple network blueprints that set up a public-facing network to host a web application. Or you can create more complex blueprints that connect public cloud resources in a private, non-internet facing corporate data center. BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management now supports Platform as a Service, that is PaaS provisioning. In Release 4.0, CLM can provision database instances onto the following types of previously onboarded database platforms: Oracle RAC, Oracle Restart, and Oracle Standalone. The process of provisioning a database instance is similar to provisioning a virtual server onto an onboarded hypervisor or cluster of hypervisors. When you provision a database instance, you can also deploy application content such as schemas, default data, and database user accounts. You can combine the provisioning of PaaS resources with the provisioning of traditional servers and applications to create multi-tier services. To accommodate PaaS provisioning, new functionality has been added to processes. For provisioning and registering PaaS providers, currently the only PaaS provider is BMC Database Automation, onboarding PaaS resources, collecting PaaS resources into pools, and creating service blueprints for PaaS resources. Previous versions of CLM provided support for Amazon EC2, that is the external cloud provider Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. This version extends management support for Amazon Web Services. The cloud administrator can now create and manage requestable offerings and service instances for AWS. With this new support, The cloud administrator will be able to create and manage virtual public clouds, that is VPCs, create and manage firewalls for a VPC using Amazon Web Services Security Group and Network ACL Management. They can create and manage elastic load balancers, ELBs, for a VPC. They can tag provisioned AWS elements with CLM values for a tenant. They can now onboard EC2 instances as a single tier service offering instance, and this functionality is now available in 4.1. The cloud end user will now be able to provision to an availability zone or a VPC. CLM now includes its own software development kit. The SDK provides a simple way to perform task-based API operations in CLM. You don't need to interact directly with the BMC Cloud Lifecycle RESTful API. Instead, the SDK provides Python bindings to the full RESTful API. You can use a Python command line, code, or scripts to complete CLM operations with a simplified syntax. We now have new service monitoring capabilities. 4.0 offers a more detailed look at the health of your services. You can create charts that reveal real-time or historical performance data for your servers. You can also drill down at a chart for a more granular view of a server's performance data so that you can pinpoint issues when troubleshooting. Finally, you can create policies that perform an action when a service breaches the threshold criteria that you set. You can create remediation policies that attempt to resolve a performance problem as soon as it occurs. For example, you can create a policy that adds CPU when CPU utilization exceeds 90% for 10 minutes. You can also create notification policies that send email when your service breaches the criteria that you set. 4.0 introduced numerous improvements to the installer program. It's much easier to use and more robust. You now can install more products in fewer sessions, thus reducing the possibility of introducing any kind of user error. In a new installation, you can select multiple products, install as many products as you can, and then exit the installer if you need to. You can resume installation later without confusing the installer. Even if a product installation fails, you can gracefully exit the installer, fix the problem, and resume installation without any loss of state. During upgrade, integration with existing products is no longer a separate prerequisite step. When you choose to upgrade to 4.0 from 2.1x or 3x, you can seamlessly move from integration to upgrade in the very same session. There were a lot of enhancements to Quick Start functionality in 4.0. Quick Start lets you identify existing VMs and import them into CLM so that they each become a service offering instance. You can also view VMs that were previously onboarded. In this version, content created for each step in Quick Start automatically rolls back if a failure occurs. Several predefined values and out-of-the-box configuration options have been added. Finally, there's a simplified GUI that now leads you through the process of setting up provisioning with Quick Start. My Cloud Services console has greatly been enhanced in 4.0. You can request an SOI on behalf of any cloud user, including a cloud end user, a cloud tenant administrator, or a cloud administrator within the same tenant or across different onboarded tenants. The cloud and tenant administrators can now transfer the ownership of an SOI from one cloud user to another cloud user. All cloud users, including cloud administrators, tenant administrators, and end users who are owners of the service, can now share SOIs with another cloud user or a group of users. Virtualization enhancements for this release include the following. you can create a service offering that deploys a virtual machine that shares storage from a data store cluster. You can refresh data for service instances and servers to ensure that you can always work with current data using the new synchronize options. Support for VMware Vcloud Director lets you create the following Day 1 and Day 2 end user options. You can adjust resource allocations like CPU, memory, and system disk. You can specify additional software packages, whether for application packages, compliance jobs, or otherwise. 4.0 supports VMware Vcloud Director 5.1 and 5.5. 4.0 includes the following networking enhancements. You can create and modify network containers with improved efficiency. You can modify a pod by adding or removing components. You can then back out changes if you need to, or you can build on an existing pod rather than having to create a new one from scratch. You can specify the DNS server for the container level networks and NAT pools when you create the container. You can dynamically enable or disable all perimeter firewalls for a network container. And you can also lock or hide firewall rules from tenant admins or end users. 4.0 also includes new platform support for networking devices for Cisco, Citrix, and VMware. 4.0 includes the following enhancements for tenant management. In this release, you can create tenants or organizations directly inside BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management. This eliminates the need to onboard or import them. You can create cloud users for all tenants by using BMC Cloud Lifecycle Management. And finally, you can allocate and monitor resources to a company or to a tenant. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed hearing about these new 4.0 features. Thank you so much for watching.